Hello, chess friends. How you doing? And welcome to a new game. This game was played between Judit Bolgar, the queen of chess, and the real-life Elizabeth Harmon, and Gary Kasparov. No need to introduce Gary. He's 15 times world champion, number one rated player for 20 years. Judit Bolgar is playing with white pieces, and Gary Kasparov is playing with black pieces. Here, Judit starts the game with 1 e4, c5. Gary Kasparov goes for the Sicilian defense. Knight to e3, d6, d4. Judith strikes in the center immediately. C takes d4, knight takes d4, and knight to f3. Knight to f6, pressuring the pawn. Knight to c3, defending the pawn. a6, the another variation of the Sicilian. Bishop to e3, e6, f3, b5. The main line here, of course, is you want to push this pawn further, expand on the queen side. Here, Judith plays queen d2, ready to castle queen side. Knight b to d7, g4. Judith says you're more than welcome to expand on the queen side. I'm gonna expand on the king side, launch an attack on your king. Knight b6. Of course, this move is inaccurate. Here, the computer says that the most precise move is to push the pawn, to play b5, to play b4, and you have an amazing position. But it's okay. Gary knows what he's doing, and of course, I forgot to mention that this is a blitz game. So knight to b6, queen f2, and again, this is not like the most precise move from Judit Bolgar. Here, the the most precise move here is to play a4, undermine this expansion on the queen side. But okay, Judith plays queen f2, knight f to d7, castles queen side by Judith Bolgar, bishop b7, putting this bishop on this amazing long diagonal. Sorry, because maybe Gary wants to play e5 and open up the position. Takes. Here, knight b3, rook c8, and here Judith plays like it's a blunder for sure. I don't know what she was thinking. I mean, the computer says it's a blunder. Gary said it's a blunder. Everyone said it's a blunder, but Judith doesn't agree. She sacrifices a knight for 2 pawns. Gary immediately wants to trade the pieces. He's up a full piece. Judith declines the trade. Bishop d3, bishop e7, f4. Judith is down in materials, so she wants to expand on the king side, launch an attack on Gary's king, and hopefully checkmate him. Castles by Gary wants to put his king to safety and win this game very easily. g5, like I said, Judith wants to expand on the king, push these pawns, and bring all the pieces into the attack to launch an attack on the king. Bishop a4, king b1, knight c4, e6, bishop takes b3. Of course, Gary is up in material, so any trade is in his benefit. C takes b3, knight takes e3, queen takes e3, and d5. Okay, it's the best move, of course. h4, like I said, Judith wants to attack Gary's king and hopefully checkmate him. Queen a5, the queen enters the game. h5, knight c5, f5, and here rook a8. Gary Kasparov is threatening checkmate on a2. f4, Judith prevents the checkmate, and here Gary Kasparov says to Judith, "You're not the only one who can sacrifice pieces," and he plays knight takes. But the difference here that this is a correct sacrifice. Because if he takes, of course, Gary will take and then bring the other rook into the attack, and his bishop is amazing here. I mean, and of course, he has this rook queen battery, so this one will end in checkmate, of course, for Gary's favor. So Judith knows that for sure, so she doesn't take the knight. Instead, she plays f6. Of course, if Gary takes the pawn, then it's a blunder. Well, if Gary takes, of course, if Gary takes the pawn, he blunders the game immediately. Of course, he will take with the pawn with the g pawn. He cannot take with the bishop because he will lose material. So if he takes the pawn, then he will take. Judith will take with this pawn, and this queen comes alive, and this bishop is slicing over here, and this rook will come here. Sorry, this rook will come here, and it will be checkmate for Gary. So he doesn't take that. He doesn't do all of this. He plays he plays knight to c3 check. He wants to pick up the rook. Here king goes to c2, and here queen and here sorry here Gary plays rook f to c8. Of course, he cannot take with the king because it's protected the rook, and here Gary is threatening all sorts of nasty discoveries. So Judith tries one last trick. Of course, you do not want to trade the queen for two rooks. Takes and take with the rook. Here Gary plays the best move and wins the game on the spot. He plays knight takes d1, and it was in this position that Judit Polgar resigned the game, and an amazing win for Gary Kasparov. Of course, if Judit takes the knight, then she loses the two rooks and the entire game. Of course, you cannot block with the queen because you'll take it as checkmate. So the only move is king to d2, and you lose the other rook. Completely lost game. So Judith knows all of this, and she resigns the game. So amazing win for Gary. I know you all liked the game where Gary lost on 7 moves, and you all said in the comments that you love the game. But yeah, this game is an amazing game. Maybe we will show the game where Judith defeats Gary very soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.